The colony world of Haven glowed like a rough-cut sapphire against the black velvet of space. From her vantage point, aboard the observation deck of Haven's orbital defense station, Governor Sarah Chen watched thin wisps of clouds swirl across the planet's azure surface. The fledgling human settlement had survived its first decade through sheer determination, transforming a harsh alien landscape into humanity's furthest outpost among the stars. Governor called out Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez from his monitoring station, his dark eyes fixed on the sensor displays. "We're detecting multiple quantum signatures entering the system. Configuration unknown." Chen straightened, her contemplation forgotten. Haven was well outside established trade routes. Unknown visitors meant unknown intentions. Alert status. Get me a visual. The holographic display flickered to life, showing 3 vessels emerging from quantum space. Their design was unlike anything in human records, sleek crystalline structures that seemed to catch and reflect starlight like faceted jewels. They were beautiful and troubling. Each ship was easily 3 times the size of Haven's largest vessel. "They're broadcasting," Rodriguez reported. "Universal frequency. Put it through." The communication screen materialized, revealing a humanoid figure with iridescent silver skin and eyes that seemed to shift color like oil on water. Intricate patterns of light pulsed beneath their skin in complex rhythms. When they spoke, their voice carried harmonics that made Chen's teeth ache. "Greetings, primitive colony. I am Overseer Vix of the Zenith Empire. Your presence has been noted in our stellar charts. We come to offer you the privilege of vassalage under our enlightened rule." Chen kept her expression neutral, though her hands clenched behind her back. "This is Governor Sarah Chen of the Haven Colony. We appreciate your greeting, but we are an independent human settlement. We do not seek vassalage under any power." The Overseer's skin patterns shifted to deeper hues. "You misunderstand, Governor. This is not a negotiation. Your technology level is barely above planetary containment. Your ships are crude assemblages of metal and plastic. The Zenith Empire does not permit unguided species to pollute space with their primitive attempts at colonization. You will accept our guidance, or you will be removed." Around the command center, Chen could feel her staff tensing. Haven's defensive capabilities were modest. A handful of patrol ships and the station's own weapons. Against one of those crystalline vessels, let alone 3, they wouldn't stand a chance in direct confrontation. But humanity hadn't spread across the stars by backing down from challenges. "Overseer," Chen replied carefully, "while we respect your empire's achievements, we must decline. This colony represents years of human effort and sacrifice. We will not simply hand it over." Vixtrix's patterns pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Admirable spirit, but irrelevant. Your species is young, barely able to manipulate basic quantum mechanics. Your weapons are primitive kinetics and crude energy projectors. We have guided dozens of species to enlightenment under our rule. Some required convincing." The threat hung in the air like a drawn blade. Chen smiled thinly. "Perhaps we could discuss this further. Allow us to demonstrate our colony's achievements. Show you that we are not as primitive as you believe." "Your achievements?" Vix laughed, a sound like crystal chimes. "We have observed your vessels, Governor. Analyzed your technology. You still rely on reaction mass for propulsion. Your quantum communications are rudimentary at best. What could you possibly demonstrate that would interest us?" "You might be surprised," Chen replied. "Humanity has learned that appearances can be deceiving. Give us 1 standard rotation to prepare a proper reception." Surely the Zenith Empire values diplomatic protocol. The Overseer's patterns swirled in complex configurations as they considered. "Your attempt at delay is transparent, but amusing." "Very well. 1 rotation. Use it to come to terms with your new status. When we return, you will submit to our guidance, or we will demonstrate exactly how primitive your defenses are." The communication cut off. Chen immediately turned to her staff. "Send the alert to Earth Command. Priority channel. Then get me Director Patel at the Research Division. It's time to show our visitors what humanity's been working on. Ma'am, Rodriguez ventured, our weapons really are primitive compared to theirs. Those ships could tear this station apart. Chen's smile turned predatory. Lieutenant, humanity's greatest advantage has always been letting others underestimate us. Those ships are impressive, but they're also overconfident, and they just gave us exactly what we needed. Time. She turned back to the viewport, watching the crystalline ships take up position at the system's edge. The Zenith Empire thought they were dealing with a primitive colony barely able to reach space. They would learn, as others had before them, that humanity's true strength lay not in the technology they displayed, but in what they kept hidden. The next 24 hours would change everything. Chen just hoped they were ready for what would come after. Because one thing was certain, win or lose, after tomorrow, humanity's quiet expansion among the stars would quiet no longer. As alerts sounded across Haven, as hidden preparations long held in reserve began to activate, as humanity prepared to reveal its true capabilities to an arrogant empire, Sarah Chen watched the crystalline ships glitter in the starlight and remembered an ancient Earth saying, "Pride goeth before a fall." The Zenith Empire was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Deep beneath Haven's surface, in a facility whose existence was known to fewer than 50 people, Director Raj Patel stood before a massive holographic display showing the colony's true defensive grid. Behind him, Governor Chen watched as layers of information scrolled past, weapon emplacements, shield generators, and quantum arrays that had remained dormant since the colony's founding. "How long until the systems are online?" Chen asked, her voice echoing in the cavernous command center. Patel's fingers danced across the control interface, bringing up status reports. "The quantum shields are already at standby. We're cycling up the phase cannons now. The real question is whether we reveal the Prometheus Array." Chen frowned. The Prometheus Array represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, and its most closely guarded secret, a weapons platform that could redirect quantum energy from parallel dimensions. It made conventional shields useless. Earth Command had been hesitant to even install it on Haven. "We may not have a choice," she said. "The Zenith ship's crystalline structure suggests quantum-based technology. They're probably drawing power from dimensional bleed, just like we learned to do. Which means they'll never expect us to have similar capabilities." Patel nodded. "Their scans showed exactly what we wanted them to see. Primitive kinetic weapons and basic energy shields. The look on their faces when they realize." He was interrupted by a proximity alert. On the main display, one of the Zenith ships was moving closer to the colony, its crystalline surface catching the light of Haven's sun. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez over the comm. "Deep penetration suites." Chen smiled grimly. "Let them look. Our dampening fields are working." "Perfectly," Patel confirmed. "As far as their sensors can tell, we're exactly what we appear to be. A struggling colony barely managing to keep our technology functioning. They can't detect anything below the first 100 meters of surface." On the display, the Zenith ship continued its lazy orbit, its scans washing over the colony like waves on a beach. Each sweep revealed only what humanity wanted them to see: outdated technology, vulnerable defenses, and a population that seemed ripe for enlightened guidance. "Message from the surface," Rodriguez called out. "Dr. Zhang reports the quantum core is stable and ready for power transfer. She says, and I quote, 'These arrogant bastards won't know what hit them.'" Chen couldn't help but chuckle. Dr. Helen Zhang had been one of the key architects of the Prometheus Array, and she took personal offense at any suggestion that humanity was technologically inferior. "Overseer Vex Trix is hailing us again," Rodriguez added. "Put them through to my private channel," Chen ordered. "I'll take it in the secondary command room." The Overseer's iridescent face appeared before her, their skin patterns showing what Chen was learning to recognize as smug satisfaction. "Governor," Vex Trix purred, "our scans confirm our initial assessment. Your technology is painfully primitive. Your defenses would not stop even our smallest vessel. Why do you persist in this futile resistance? Chen adopted an expression of careful concern. Overseer, surely we could discuss terms. Our colony has valuable resources. Resources we will access more efficiently under proper guidance. Vextrix interrupted. Your mining techniques are crude. Your refinement process is wasteful. We have seen dozens of species like yours, thinking they could resist progress. All now serve productively within the Empire. And if we continue to refuse, the Overseer's skin darkened. Then we will demonstrate our power, and you will learn your place by force rather than reason. Your defensive station would last approximately 30 seconds against one of our weapon systems. Your surface installations would follow shortly after. We would preserve enough infrastructure to make the colony useful, but your current leadership would be replaced. Chen allowed herself to look worried. You would attack a civilian colony. We would enlighten a primitive species that refuses to acknowledge its own limitations. Vextrix corrected. The Empire's guidance is a gift, Governor, one you would be wise to accept gracefully. In the background, Chen's secure tablet showed green lights across all systems. Haven's true defenses were ready. Now they just had to wait for the right moment. You've given us until your return to decide, she reminded the Overseer. We still have several hours. Time you waste in pointless preparation, Vextrix said. But yes, we honor our stated terms. Consider carefully, Governor. The Empire can be generous to those who accept their proper place. Those who resist, their skin patterns shifted to deep crimson. They serve as examples to others. The communication ended. Chen returned to the main command center, where Paddle was reviewing final system checks. Their arrogance is almost impressive, she noted. They're so convinced of their superiority that they haven't even maintained combat readiness. Their shields are at minimal power, weapons on standby. Patel nodded. The crystalline ships are beautiful, but that design has a fatal flaw. If you can match the resonant frequency of their quantum matrix, their own power generation becomes a liability, Chen finished. How long until the Prometheus array can get a lock on their frequency? Another 2 hours of passive scans should do it. Dr. Zheng is already calculating probable harmonic patterns based on their power signatures. Chen studied the tactical display, watching the Zenith ships cruise through Haven space as if they already owned it. Their casual disregard for the colony's capabilities would be their undoing. Send word to all departments, she ordered. When they return for their answer, we show them exactly what humanity's been hiding, and make sure we're recording everything. Earth Command will want a full analysis of how our systems perform against their technology. As her staff rushed to comply, Chen thought about the Overseer's dismissive attitude. The Zenith Empire had encountered many primitive species, guided them, controlled them. But they had never encountered humanity before. They didn't understand that humans had learned long ago to hide their true capabilities, to let potential adversaries underestimate them. Tomorrow, the Empire would learn that lesson, and the galaxy would never be the same. The deadline arrived with the rising of Haven's sun. The 3 Zenith ships approached in perfect formation, their crystalline surfaces blazing with reflected starlight. In Haven's underground command center, Governor Chen watched their approach with calculated calm. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, making sure everyone in the system can hear their victory announcement. How thoughtful of them to provide documentation of their own hubris, Chen replied. Status of our systems. Director Patel's fingers flew across his console. Prometheus array is locked on their quantum frequency. Dr. Zhang says the harmonics match predictions within 0.001%. Shield grid is powered but masked. Phase cannons are ready but cold. Everything looks like normal colony defenses until we flip the switch. The main display filled with Overseer Vextrix's iridescent face, their skin patterns radiating supreme confidence. Governor Chen, the time for your decision has arrived. Will you accept the Empire's generous guidance, or must we demonstrate the cost of defiance? Chen stood straight, hands clasped behind her back. We've considered your offer carefully, Overseer. And we have a counter-proposal. Vextrix's patterns shifted in what might have been amusement. You are not in a position to make proposals. Primitive. About that word, primitive, Chen continued as if they hadn't spoken. We've been curious how you would define it. Is it our seemingly basic shield technology, our apparent reliance on kinetic weapons, or is it simply that we've allowed you to believe what you wanted to believe? The Overseer's patterns darkened. Your attempts at intimidation are pathetic. Our scans have shown us everything about your capabilities. Have they? Chen smiled. Dr. Zhang, would you care to demonstrate what your primitive quantum mechanics can do? In that moment, several things happened at once. The Prometheus array, hidden in Haven's asteroid belt, spun up to full power. The colony's true shield grid activated, quantum energies rippling through subspace in patterns that exactly matched and canceled the Zenith ship's power signatures. And most importantly, the look of supreme confidence on Overseer Vextrix's face transformed into something approaching fear. Impossible, they whispered as their ship's power levels began to fluctuate. You can't have this technology. You're barely past planetary containment. A common misconception, Chen replied. You see, humanity learned long ago that the best way to develop in peace was to let others underestimate us. Your scans showed you exactly what we wanted them to show, though I have to admit, your arrogance made our job much easier. The Zenith ships were attempting to raise their shields to full power, but the Prometheus array was already matched to their quantum frequency. Each surge of energy they tried to draw was instantly neutralized. This is your only warning, Chen continued. Leave Haven's space. Tell your empire that this colony is not interested in their guidance. We're doing quite well on our own. Vextrix's skin had gone almost white. You dare threaten ships of the Empire. We will reduce your colony to atoms. The lead Zenith ship's weapon ports began to glow. Before they could fire, Dr. Zhang activated the second phase of the Prometheus array. A focused beam of quantum energy struck the ship's crystalline hull at exactly its resonant frequency. Cracks appeared across its surface as its own power system began to work against it. Fascinating design, your ships, Chen commented. Beautiful, efficient, incredibly advanced. But rather vulnerable if someone understands the quantum mechanics involved. Would you like to see what happens if we increase the power? The cracks in the lead ship's hull grew larger. Emergency containment fields flickered as the crew tried desperately to stabilize their quantum matrix. Stop. Vextrix's voice had lost all its previous arrogance. You've made your point. Chen raised an eyebrow. Have I? Because I want to be very clear. We're not showing you everything we can do. This is a demonstration, not a war. But if you force us into a war, you'll discover just how much humanity has been hiding. The Zenith ships were already backing away, their formation forgotten as they struggled to maintain quantum containment. Their sensors, now operating at full capacity, were revealing layer after layer of technology that their initial scans had somehow missed. This isn't over, Vextrix snarled, though their ship was retreating as they spoke. The Empire will not tolerate this insult. No, Chen agreed. It's not over. But the rules have changed. You thought you were dealing with primitives who would bow to your superior technology. Instead, you've discovered that humanity is far more advanced than we appear. The Empire has a choice now. Learn to coexist with us as equals, or learn exactly why we've been hiding our true capabilities. The Zenith ships disappeared into quantum space, their retreat as hasty as their arrival had been confident. In Haven's command center, the tension slowly began to ease. Well, Director Patel said into the silence, that could have gone worse. It's going to get worse, Chen replied. They'll be back, and in greater numbers. The Empire can't afford to let this challenge go unanswered. If they don't, every species they've subjugated will start questioning their power. Let them come, Dr. Zhang said, her eyes still fixed on the quantum readings from the confrontation. We've learned more about their technology from this one encounter than months of intelligence gathering could have told us. Next time, we'll be even better prepared. Chen nodded slowly. Haven had won its first battle, but the war was just beginning. The Zenith Empire would return with everything they had, determined to crush this upstart colony that had dared to resist them. But humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, hiding their advances behind a facade of primitive technology. Now that the facade was no longer necessary, the Empire would discover exactly what they challenged. The game had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks after the confrontation with the Zenith ships, Haven's quantum sensors detected a massive disturbance approaching from Empire space. Governor Chen stood in the colony's war room, watching as the tactical display filled with enemy signatures. Final count is 117 ships, Director Puddle reported grimly, including 3 of their dreadnoughts. They're not taking any chances this time. Chen studied the approaching fleet's formation. The Empire had arranged their ships in a classic assault pattern, with the dreadnoughts protected in the center and smaller vessels forming layers of defense. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an overwhelming force. They still think this is about brute force, she noted. Message from Earth Command. Received and acknowledged. Lieutenant Rodriguez confirmed. Support fleet is in position behind Haven's moon. Stealth systems are holding. The Empire hasn't detected them. The support fleet was something of a misnomer. The ships weren't there to fight. They were there to observe and record. Earth wanted detailed data on how their hidden technologies performed against the Empire's full might. Dr. Zhang reports the Prometheus array is at full power, Patil added. All 3 arrays are synchronized and ready. Should we power up the planetary shields? Chen shook her head. Not yet. Let them think their first strike might succeed. The more committed they are to the attack, the more devastating their failure will be. The Zenith fleet dropped out of quantum space in perfect synchronization, their crystalline ships forming a sphere around Haven. This time, they didn't bother with communication. The lead dreadnought simply opened fire. The Empire's quantum weaponry was beautiful in its destructive power. Beams of pure energy lanced toward Haven's seemingly vulnerable surface, carrying enough power to shatter mountains. They never reached their targets. Microsecons before impact, Haven's true defensive grid activated. The quantum shields didn't just block the incoming fire. They captured it, redirected it, and fed it into the Prometheus arrays. Each shot intended to destroy the colony only made its defenses stronger. Imperial ships are reading massive power fluctuations, Rodriguez reported with satisfaction. Their quantum matrices are destabilizing just like before, but on a much larger scale. On the main display, the Empire's perfect formation was already beginning to break apart. Their ships' crystalline hulls showed spreading cracks as the Prometheus arrays turned their own power systems against them. But the Empire wasn't done yet. Multiple quantum signatures, Patil shouted. They're bringing in reinforcements. More Zenith ships appeared around the battlefield, doubling the size of the attacking fleet. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They still don't understand. Dr. Zhang, initiate Phase 2. Deep beneath Haven's surface, quantum computers that had lain dormant for years spun up to full power. The technology the colony had been hiding went far beyond weapons and shields. They had been preparing for this moment since the first foundation was laid. Space itself seemed to ripple around Haven as dozens of quantum singularities sprang into existence. The Empire's reinforcements found their quantum drives suddenly unable to function, trapped in bubbles of distorted spacetime that human ships somehow navigated with ease. Imperial fleet is trying to regroup, Rodriguez reported. Their flagship is signaling for a full attack. Time to show them what humanity's been working on for the past century, Chen said quietly. Director Patil, you may initiate the Nexus protocol. Patil's fingers danced across his console, inputting the complex series of commands that would activate Haven's ultimate defense system. The quantum singularities surrounding the battlefield began to pulse in perfect synchronization. The effect on the Imperial fleet was immediate and devastating. Their quantum-based technology relied on drawing power from parallel dimensions. The Nexus protocol didn't just block that power, it reversed the flow. Every attempt to power their weapons or shields only drained them further. Imperial ships are losing power across the board, Rodriguez announced. Their quantum matrices are collapsing. They're trying to retreat, but the singularities are blocking their escape routes. The massive Zenith fleet, pride of the Empire, was reduced to drifting hulks in space. Their crystalline ships, so beautiful and powerful, were now riddled with cracks and dark with failed power systems. Open a channel to their flagship, Chen ordered. Let's see if they're ready to discuss terms. The holographic display showed the Imperial command deck in chaos. Overseer Vixtrix's skin had gone almost completely white, their patterns irregular with panic. What have you done? They demanded. This technology cannot exist. You were primitive. We saw your capabilities. You saw what we wanted you to see, Chen replied calmly. Humanity learned long ago that true power lies not in showing your strength, but in choosing when to reveal it. Your Empire's greatest weakness was your certainty of superiority. The Empire will not submit to primitives. But even as Vixtrix spoke, more of their ships were going dark, their crews frantically trying to prevent complete systems failure. Submit. No, I don't think you understand, Chen said. We don't want your submission. We want you to understand that the galaxy is more complex than your Empire imagined. There are powers you haven't recognized, technologies you haven't conceived of. Your choice now is simple: adapt to this new reality or be left behind by it. The Battle of Haven lasted less than 30 minutes. The greatest fleet the Zenith Empire had ever assembled was defeated not by superior firepower, but by technologies they hadn't believed possible. As Earth Command's stealth ships recorded everything, humanity revealed just a fraction of what they had been developing in secret. But as Governor Chen watched the Imperial ships power down one by one, she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted, and the ripples would spread far beyond this single battle. The Empire would have to face a truth they had long denied. They were no longer the most advanced civilization in known space. Humanity had hidden in plain sight, letting others underestimate them while they prepared for this moment. Now, as the Empire's fleet hung powerless in space around Haven, that time of hiding was over. The game had changed, and humanity had just shown they knew all the rules, even the ones they had written themselves. 1 month after the Battle of Haven, Governor Sarah Chen sat across from the Zenith Empire's Grand Overseer in Earth's diplomatic chamber. The crystalline being's skin patterns shifted in complex waves of uncertainty, a far cry from the arrogant confidence their species had shown before Haven. Your terms are unprecedented, the Grand Overseer said, their harmonics carrying notes of disbelief. You have defeated our greatest fleet, revealed technologies we thought impossible, yet you ask for neither surrender nor subjugation. We're not interested in empire building, Chen replied, remembering the countless hours of discussion with Earth Command that had led to this moment. Humanity wants something far more valuable than conquered worlds or subjugated species. The holographic displays between them showed the aftermath of Haven's battle. Zenith ships, once proud and powerful, being carefully towed back to their territory. The quantum singularities that had trapped them now helped guide them home, a demonstration of how humanity's technology could aid rather than destroy. What you call impossible technology, Chen continued, is simply the result of a different approach. While the Empire focused on displaying power, humanity chose to hide and develop. Every time your ships encountered our primitive colonies, we learned more about your capabilities. Every dismissive scan gave us more data to work with. A deception spanning decades, the Grand Overseer's patterns showed something close to admiration. Your people maintained this facade across multiple star systems, countless encounters, because we understood something the Empire had forgotten, Chen said. True advancement comes not from dominating others, but from the challenge of solving problems. Every species, every civilization, has something to contribute, if they're allowed to develop in their own way. Director Patel entered the chamber carrying fresh quantum data from Haven. The information showed how the colony's defensive systems had not just defeated the Imperial fleet, but had done so while collecting massive amounts of data about Zenith technology. "Your ships are magnificent," Patel said, pulling up detailed scans. "The crystalline quantum matrices, the dimensional power taps, brilliant engineering. But you became so convinced of their superiority that you stopped looking for alternatives, stopped considering that others might have developed different solutions." The Grand Overseer studied the data, their patterns shifting rapidly. "These readings, you weren't just defending Haven. You were studying us, learning. That's what humanity does best." Chen smiled. "We adapt. We learn. And now we're offering to share that knowledge with the Empire." "Share?" The Grand Overseer's patterns froze in shock. "You would give us access to these technologies." "Not give," Chen corrected. "Exchange. Collaborate. Your empire has gathered knowledge from countless species, but you've kept it to yourselves, doled it out only to those you deemed worthy. Imagine instead a galaxy where different civilizations work together, combining their unique perspectives to solve problems none could tackle alone." The diplomatic chamber's displays shifted, showing new images. Human ships working alongside restored Imperial vessels, quantum technologies from both civilizations operating in harmony, the beginnings of joint research projects already underway. "The Battle of Haven wasn't just about showing our strength," Chen explained. "It was about proving that your assumptions about technological development were wrong. There isn't just one path to advancement. The very differences you dismissed as primitive might be the key to breakthroughs you never imagined." The Grand Overseer was silent for a long moment, their patterns swirling in deep thought. "And if we refuse, if the Empire cannot accept this paradigm shift, then humanity will continue to develop, to explore, to advance," Chen said simply. "We've shown we can defend ourselves, but we'd rather work together. The galaxy is vast, and there are mysteries neither of us have solved. Why face them alone?" Dr. Zhang's voice came through the quantum comm, adding to the conversation. "We've already identified 12 areas where combining our technologies could lead to significant breakthroughs. The quantum resonance patterns your ships use, combined with our dimensional manipulation techniques. The potential is extraordinary." The Grand Overseer's patterns steadied, showing resolution. "The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. In all that time, no species has made us question our fundamental assumptions like this." "Then perhaps," Chen suggested, "it's time for the Empire to evolve. Not through conquest or dominance, but through cooperation and mutual advancement." The negotiations continued for several more hours, but the fundamental shift had already occurred. The Empire that had arrived at Haven expecting to find primitives in need of guidance had instead discovered equals who had hidden their true nature. The civilization that had prided itself on superior technology had been forced to confront the possibility that their very certainty of superiority had blinded them to other paths of advancement. 1 year later, Governor Chen stood in Haven's observation deck, watching ships from a dozen species dock at the colony's expanded spaceport. The diplomatic station they'd built in orbit had become a hub of technological exchange, where representatives from across the galaxy came to share knowledge and collaborate on new discoveries. The Zenith ships still gleamed like crystals in the starlight, but now they moved in formation with vessels of human design, their different technologies working in harmony. The Empire had not fallen, but it had changed, becoming something new. A partnership of civilizations rather than a hierarchy of conquered species. "Hard to believe it all started here," Director Patel said, joining her at the viewport. "With the Empire thinking they'd found just another primitive colony." Chen smiled, watching as a new group of scientists arrived, eager to participate in the galaxy's greatest technological exchange. Sometimes the best way to change the future is to let others underestimate you. Humanity hid our achievements not out of fear, but because we were waiting for the right moment to show that there's always another way forward. Beyond Haven's busy spaceways, the stars beckoned. And now, with the combined knowledge of humanity and the Empire working together, those stars seemed closer than ever before. The time of hiding was over. The age of collaboration had begun. And it had all started because a supposedly primitive colony had shown an empire that true power lies not in dominance, but in the wisdom to know when to reveal your strength and how to use it to forge a better future for all.